Hi, how's it going? Jesse Peterson.
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great.
I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me today.
Absolutely. And you are?
Hawkins.
Okay. And your name?
Oh, yeah. Savannah.
Savannah. Great. Great to meet with you. As I mentioned, I'm Jesse.
All right. Well, we seem to be at a little bit of an impasse with our negotiations.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just got filled in from my colleagues who have been working with you guys recently, and just to help me get a better understanding on what's going on, the kind of issues, can I just ask you what your thoughts are, like what reasonings you're thinking that why we're having this impasse right now?
Sure. So Savannah, here's the thing: is we have we're kind of a bigger chain, and we have 200 locations scattered throughout the nation. So for us, it's key to be able to have some consistency throughout. So for this particular article that you guys are kind of rewrote the article and sent back to us, with this particular article, it's the same article we've used throughout the 200 locations, and we found that it's worked really well. And we've even found that the developers of these locations really enjoy it as well, because we have that flexibility to do whatever it takes to make sure that we're consistently having good foot traffic, that we can use whatever advertising campaigns are necessary to make sure that we're going to stay number one. So I think that it's really been successful, and I definitely think that you guys will find that it's going to be successful for you guys as well if we go ahead and roll forward with it.
Right, and I have high hopes with this negotiation. I have really high hopes that we'll be able to strike out the deal, because with the research that we've done and the kind of target audience that we're hoping to bring into this mall, in this location, your store is honestly quite the ideal target for us. So we're really trying to make this work so that you guys are happy, we're happy, but the biggest issue that I've been hearing from my counterparts, and that hopefully we can work out today, is that we can come to some sort of understanding of where, you understand that I can't relinquish total control. Because I know that was part of the biggest issue with the clause, was in there it was saying that you guys can do virtually whatever you want with the property. Am I understanding that correctly?
Right. The wording of the clause is such.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what kind of made the red flags go off here in my counterparts' minds, where with this long-term deal that we have, in order to really secure the funding that we need for this, obviously you've done this a lot of times, so you know more about it than I do. But in order for us to get this financing for this project, we need a strong anchor store, which essentially would be what Discount is. And in order to bring in the certain satellite businesses that we're hoping for, we need to have some sort of security to tell them that, hey, you can come in here, you can do what you need to do, and they're not going to try to steal away any of your competition. Is that a valid concern that you see? Because that's something that has been expressed to us, not only from our financial lender, but even some of the satellite businesses we've already reached out to, is that they're a little concerned because you guys are so well known with adapting to certain situations that if they're doing things that are successful, it might in turn roll over to your guys' business, because you're a more well-known company, they might lose customers. Right. So the reason we sent in that counter clause, which I know was completely against what you guys do, I'm fully aware that we're going to need to make adjustments to that, which is not a concern. That's what I'm hoping we'll be able to work out here today. But I just want to make sure that we're on the same playing field here, knowing that with what we sent in, it wasn't intentional to kind of be an uppercut to your business, because we want to work with you, but we need to make sure we have some sort of securities in place that we can confirm with the other businesses that are going to be there that nothing drastic is going to happen.
Right. Savannah, if I were in your location, in your spot right now, I would totally probably feel the same way. And I understand that from what I've understood, this is your guys' biggest project so far.
It is, actually, yeah, but we have been in the business for 20 plus years, so we have done this before, just not quite to this size, which is why it's more so like, okay, well, we need to know that further on down the line, if certain things happen, we don't, how do I word this correctly? we just want to make sure that, you know, our other businesses that are going to be taken care of, that the property is going to be taken care of in a means of like, there won't be any competing businesses in the mall, because then that wouldn't be profitable for anybody. And we don't want to make that for you guys as well. Like, we don't want someone to come in that would compete with you guys and vice versa.
Sure. And Savannah, I'll just kind of lay it out like this. I mean, when I was a kid, my grandpa used to tell me, "Don't let the tail control the dog." So I think definitely in this circumstance, just let me put some of your worries at ease here. I mean, with these smaller satellite tenants, they're kind of like the tail of the operation, whereas discount occupying such a large space in the mall is definitely more of the dog. And I think that you definitely don't need to get tied up worrying about these smaller stores controlling the bigger location that's really the one bringing in the foot traffic and bringing in that business. And a lot of times I think that the smaller stores have found security in knowing that it's discount that is there. And honestly, if they have somewhat of similar products, oftentimes those products complement each other. So it hasn't really been an issue in the past, and definitely something that I don't think you need to worry about.
I'm really glad you say that. I really am, because like we've said already, you have 200 plus stores nationwide. This is our first one. We do have some concerns, but if you guys are confident with what you've seen in your other stores, then I'm more than happy to work something out so that we can come to a reasonable conclusion for the both of us. So let me think here. In order for this to be successful for the both of us, what are the main things that you as discount need to make this happen? Can you help me understand your needs as to why the clause that you sent to us is the way it is?
Awesome. So, and I appreciate you being so open-minded about this. For us, it's just so important that we can be flexible, because you can imagine how it would be if I were to wrap up here today and go back to everyone else on the board and say, hey, we have every other 200 locations running on the same wavelength, and then we have this one location in Boston that every time we make a change, every time we do anything, they're completely in charge of that, and we don't have a lot of say in what's happening. Our hands are tied then. And it's a hard, excuse me, no, bless you. It's a hard business model for us to follow as far as a chain store goes. We need to have that flexibility, and we believe that we'll be able to help you guys more if we have that flexibility. Retail is more up and down than probably any other market there is. It just, for us to stay on top of it, we have to be able to move and move quickly with where the market's going.
When you say move, what kind of things are you talking about with that? When you need the flexibility, which I understand, I've seen it, I've dealt with it, I understand entirely. But I guess my question is, when you're saying you need to adapt, you're saying you need to change, what does that entail? What kind of things, should it happen, would we see in the future if that were to take place?
Sure. So a lot of times that includes the ability to bring in any kind of subletting within the store. Maybe if you've walked through a Macy's or something, oftentimes you'll have independent sellers in there that complement the particular store. Or, you know, sometimes in JCPenney's they'll have like a makeup section that is not specifically JCPenney's. So we need that same kind of flexibility if we want to try out a new store within all the chains or within a region, to just be able to have them in there. So as far as subletting goes, that's important to us. Obviously, it's not going to be a company that will not complement the products we already have, but we need that flexibility to have them come into the stores if that's what we decide, and if that's what the board of directors decides that needs to happen nationally. We need it to be able to happen like that.
Yeah, which I can understand. As far as the subletting goes, the areas of concern that, you know, we've really had is with what you touched on right there, is they're going to be complementing businesses. They're not going to be completely different, because what I was being told from the higher ups is you guys want to be able to do this to bring in like a circus or something to the mall, which would completely go against the kind of audience that we're trying to pull into the area in the first place.
Right, that's very far-fetched from us.
And that's what I was really hoping I was going to hear, because that just did not sound
Right.
With a store as highly esteemed as yours, it didn't quite sit well that you would do something quite as drastic as that. Well, with what I have been talking with my supervisors about, with the authority that I have right now, I don't mean to jump the gun, but in the clause, it mentions assigning the property. I can't give approval for assigning. It's just something that I don't have the authority to do. In order to get the financing for this, there needs to be the sense of security that it's going to be you guys mainly. And if you need to sublease, because I understand that there are changes that are going to happen, I would be willing to allow up to one business, because I don't really see why there would be more than one business subletting where you already are in the first place. But in order to make that happen, there would have to be some sort of, I don't want to say another negotiation, but there would have to be some sort of meeting going on, so that we know who's coming. We're sure that it's not going to conflict with everything else that's going on. I know you used the analogy earlier of the dog and the tail doesn't control the dog, or I apologize if I messed that up, but if we were to allow you to sublet, and I hope to hear your thoughts on this, we would be okay to let you sublet to at least one other business, but prior to that business arriving, we would have to just sit down, you, me, my supervisor, your supervisors, just whoever would be over this arrangement, and just discuss the viability of the business moving in, what kind of products they're going to have, what kind of business they're going to pull in, because obviously we want to make sure that this stays kind of in the same target market that we're hoping to bring in, which we think will be really successful with the research that we've done. Is that appealing to you at all? We're more than willing to allow you to sell it to one of the business. And I want to make sure that you know it, because I know it's such a big deal to you guys to have the flexibility, which we want to be able to work with you on. But like I said, we can't just let go of the reins and let any business come which way or another without us even knowing, if that makes sense.
Sure. Again, I see where you're coming from. At any given time in other locations, we've had up to 3 other individual places subletting at the same time. So just having one is kind of not feasible for us. Again, we'd love to go ahead and make this deal work, and I appreciate what you guys have brought to the table so far, and the rent that we've negotiated. That's a great rate. But definitely, if it's not possible for us to have this flexibility, it's probably going to have to be something we'll walk away from. Just definitely with assigning, we typically don't assign out our stores. I don't presume to be in real estate. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to deal with that. So if we decide to leave, I mean, then honestly,
we can work that out at a later time.
Right, definitely. But I feel like as far as subletting goes, working on a case-by-case basis, I don't see it being beneficial to you or me and having to renegotiate over and over again.
How frequently do you find yourselves subletting? Because from my understanding, with what we've seen, you guys are really already big on your own. So how many times do you sublet already in your other 200 plus stores? Like, what does that look like? And how has it responded in that area where you have?
Perfect. Okay, that's time. So